Hi there! Wondering how to assemble your wedding invitations? I'm Ellen Davis, owner and lead designer of Ellen Davis Creative. I specialize in watercolor wedding invitations and colorful paper goods for life's big moments. If you've searched for invitations and can't find exactly what you're looking for, you've come to the right place. It's my honor to work with engaged couples to create wedding invitations that are uniquely representative of them. Most of my designs involve a little watercolor work too. So once the fun design phase is completed and we've shipped your invitations off to print, you have one of two options. So either I can handle full suite assembly for you, or you may opt to assemble your invitations yourself. At this point, many of my brides seek guidance on how to properly stuff their invites. So you've got all these pieces, and now how do you put them together? So let's jump right into it. All right, so in order to assemble with ease, you're going to want to set all of your cards and envelopes out on the table in stacks. It's important to note here before we begin that you will want to stamp your RSVP envelopes before we begin the assembly process. That will make things a lot easier for you. So I have one of these assembled here so I can show you briefly. The idea is that we are going to build this stack from the largest card to the smallest card. If you have a details card, it will slide in between here. I don't in this example, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So step one is that we're going to take our outer envelope and we're going to open with the flap facing your right hand. Step two, we're going to insert the invitation, and you're going to insert it face up, obviously, so that it's ready for the guest to read when they open it. So step three, at this point, this is where you'll want to grab the next largest card that you have. So that may be a details card, for instance. In this particular suite, I did not have a details card, but if you had a card in between the size of your invitation and your RSVP card, it would go in next. So for step four, we're going to take the RSVP envelope, and for this piece, we're going to open it with the flap towards your left hand. And then you're simply going to tuck your reply card under this flap and close it like so. So we're not actually inserting it. We're making it very easy for our guests to fill this out before they send it back. So flap opens to your left hand, card is placed here, flap closes over it, and then you'll want to slide it in, trying to sort of center it on the invitation. This will move around some during mailing, but I always think it's nice to try to center things up. So the next step is simply to seal. The next step, if you don't have anything like a vellum wrap or ribbon or belly band, which I'll discuss in a moment, is to seal your outer envelope. And there are a few ways you can do this. You can do the old school licking method. If you have 200 invitations, I probably wouldn't recommend that, but you can do that if you'd like. Another recommendation is to take a kitchen sponge and cut it up into a little maybe 1 inch by 1 inch square. You can get a little bowl of water and wet it, and you'll want to squeeze out all of the water so that it feels just barely damp, and then run it along this line and seal it closed. You'll just want to be careful that there's not too much water on the sponge, as you don't want the paper to buckle here. My recommendation is to get one of these adhesive tapes. So this is a double-sided tape. This particular brand I like is Tombow. It's called Permanent Adhesive, and you can get this at Hobby Lobby or at Michael's or Amazon. And you just run the tape gun along the edge here and then seal it shut. This is going to be a really nice adhesive that will make sure your envelope stays shut in transit and doesn't cause any warping. But like I said, 3 different methods, up to you. And then lastly, you will take this to the post office and get it weighed. And I'll have a note on that at the end. And then depending on what they tell you at the post office, you'll affix your appropriate stamp and send it off. I want to quickly show you a suite where you do have a details card so you can see how that is stacked up. So I've got my flap open to the right here for my outer envelope. Then in this case, we have an invitation that's a gatefold. So this is our largest piece. Then we come in with the details card and then RSVP card with envelope. And so they're stacked up like so from largest to smallest, and you just insert into your envelope there. Situation I'd like to go over is, let's say that you have some add-ons to close your suite. So that might be a vellum wrap, a ribbon to tie closed, a belly band, or a wax seal. So in this case, you're going to build your suite a little bit differently. If you have a vellum wrap, I'm going to start by laying it out, and I'm going to put my ribbon underneath. Then I'm going to add my invitation here. As before, we're going to do the next largest piece, which in this piece is a rehearsal dinner insert. Then I'm going to do my reply card with the flap tucked in like so. And then I will simply close the vellum flap and tie this closed. You may find it easier to do this with two people. One can hold the vellum wrap closed and one can tie. And then you'll tie in a bow or a knot, depending on what you're doing. And if you need to trim the ends, you'll do that at this point. Then you will just take your invitation as before, flap open to the right, and slide your entire suite in your envelope. It's best to sort of shimmy it little by little so you don't get any bending on the envelope. You can tuck any ribbon flaps, lay them flat in there, and then you will seal closed as before and take to get weighed. All right, one final note on postage for your outer envelope. While I may provide you an estimate of what your postage may end up being at some point during the design process, I always recommend that you completely assemble one invitation suite, seal it, and take this to your local post office to have it weighed. The postal clerk there will be able to tell you exactly how much postage you'll need for each invitation. Unfortunately, sometimes you can visit the same post office twice and they'll tell you a different weight and postage amount each time. So my best recommendation to avoid this is to go ahead, stuff all those invitations in advance at home, like we just went over. Go have your suite weighed, completely sealed, all pieces inside. Purchase the postage that they recommend and return that very day to the same postal clerk if possible, and mail out all your invitations. I know this sounds a little crazy, but you don't want to have stamped all your invitations and then return to another clerk the next day who tells you you need to add some 10-cent stamp that you don't feel like looks nice with the postage you've already affixed. I hope that's helpful. Of course, reach out to me with any questions if you're one of my brides. Thanks so much for watching this. I hope the video was helpful. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at ellen.davis.creative and tag me while you're stuffing those invites. I love to see the magic in progress. Lastly, if you have a friend who needs to see this video, please do share it with them. I'll see you over at ellendaviscreative.com for all your wedding paper needs.